Jennie Ruby scores the highest first-week sales for a female soloist on Hanteo in 2025 with 661,000 copies sold. Amortage has been certified gold on the Hanteo charts with over 520,000 debut sales. Rosé and Bruno Mars Apathy remains at number one on the Australia Singles Chart for a 14th week. It extends its record as the longest-running number one by a female artist in 2020s. Longest-running number ones on Australia Singles Chart in the 2020s. Lisa extends her record as the most followed female K-pop soloist on Spotify with 11.3 million followers. Jennie has made history by surpassing 46 million monthly listeners on Spotify for the first time ever, with a new all-time peak of 46 million, currently ranking as the 64th artist globally, and now holds the second highest monthly listeners peak for a K-pop act in Spotify history, surpassing BTS' previous record of 45.8 million. Rosé and Bruno Mars Apathy has been certified two-time platinum in Portugal. Apathy returns to number one on iTunes Worldwide Songs chart for 115th day, extending the record for the longest-running number one song by an artist in K-pop history. Also, Apathy continues to sit at 4 on the Oricon streaming weekly chart with 6 million streams. Alter Ego by Lisa is now the highest peaking album by a K-pop female soloist on the Z-Pop main albums chart in Poland. Jennie Ruby debuts at number 2 on this week's New Zealand albums chart. It ties Jungkook's Golden as the highest charting album by a K-pop soloist in history. Jennie's first studio album Ruby returns to its peak of number 2 on the worldwide iTunes albums chart, and Jennie's Like Jennie debuts at 31 on this week's New Zealand singles chart. It becomes the highest charting song of Ruby in the country. Earthquake by Jisoo music video reaches 50 million views on YouTube. Drinks or Coffee by Rosé remains the biggest first week for an album track by a female K-pop soloist on Spotify. Jennie's Handlebars is trending at number one on YouTube worldwide for a third day with over 9 million views and is 32 on worldwide iTunes after landing and peaking at 8. Jennie has now broken the record for the K-pop artist with the most songs on QQ Music Korean Hot 100's Top 20 charts at the same time with 14 songs. Jennie's Like Jennie debuts at 10 on the global Spotify weekly chart with 28 million streams, and Like Jennie remains at 7 on the global Spotify chart, reaching a new daily high of 4 million streams. Lisa's Alter Ego debuts at 4 on this week's Poland albums chart, becoming the highest charting album by a female K-pop soloist in history, and Alter Ego returns to the top 10 of the iTunes Worldwide Albums chart at 10. Rosé's Rosie has been certified gold in New Zealand for selling over 7,500 units in the country, becoming the first album by a female K-pop soloist and fastest by a K-pop soloist in history to achieve this. Rosé's Rosie remained the biggest weekly debut for a K-pop female soloist album on the Spotify counter in history with 179.3 million streams. Biggest debut for album by female K-pop soloist on the weekly Spotify global chart. Ruby debuts with 105.4 million streams in its first week on Spotify Global, its now biggest weekly album debut for a K-pop act in 2025. Ruby debuts at 4 on the Snap Top Albums chart. She becomes the second female K-pop soloist to reach the top 10. Jennie is also the first female K-pop soloist to chart 6 songs simultaneously for a full week on the Spotify Global chart. Her album Ruby debuts at 8 on Lithuania's albums chart, marking the highest charting album by a female K-pop soloist in the country. Lisa FUTW debuts at 32 on the Billboard Philippines Hot 100, while Born Again jumps to 46. With this, Lisa now holds 5 chart-breaking hits on the Billboard Philippines Hot 100. Rosé's Rosie joins Olivia Rodrigo and Billie Eilish When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go? As the only female debut album in history to reach 2 billion streams on Spotify in less than 100 days. Rosé's Rosie becomes the fastest album by a female K-pop act in history to reach 2 billion streams on Spotify. Jennie also hits a new peak of number 10 on the global Spotify Top Artist Weekly chart, becoming the first female K-pop soloist to enter the top 10. She further makes history as the first K-pop soloist to chart 3 songs simultaneously for a full week on Spotify UK, and the first K-pop soloist to chart 4 songs on Spotify US. Ruby also debuts at number 2 on Australia's albums chart, tying Rosé's Rosie, Jungkook's Golden, and August's D2 as the highest charting album by a K-pop soloist. Additionally, Jennie's Like Jennie debuts at 35 on the Area Singles Chart in Australia this week. Highest peaking projects by K-pop soloist on the New Zealand Albums Chart. The most entries by Korean soloist in history on the UK's official singles chart.